The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Passing landmark legislation this spring authorizing medical marijuana, the Commonwealth is now in the process of trying to figure out how it works. I-Team reporter Kelly Choate takes a closer look at Pennsylvania's pot plan in this I-Team investigation.
Despite medical marijuana laws in more than 24 states, including Pennsylvania, the product is still illegal under federal law. So, as you can imagine, there are legal implications of growing, processing, and dispensing medical marijuana. But that doesn't mean businesses aren't interested in this new industry. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Inside Van Hoeklen greenhouses in Klein Township, these poinsettias are prospering just in time for the holiday season. But Alex Van Hoeklen says it may not be long before marijuana plants are growing on this Schuylkill County property. He applied for one of the first permits to grow medical marijuana in Pennsylvania.
Obviously, right off the bat, there's a stigma with the idea of using something like marijuana as medicine. But really what we want to do is show people that medical marijuana is a safer alternative to a lot of the problems we see on the streets, especially locally here with opioids and things like that.
The medical marijuana program was signed into law by Governor Tom Wolf on April 17th. Full implementation of the program isn't expected until at least late next year.
The goal of Act 16 is to provide relief to the patients who need it the most in a safe and responsible way.
Department of Health Secretary Dr. Karen Murphy says one of the biggest accomplishments so far is the development of temporary regulations for growers and processors. She says the department received nearly 1,000 comments from members of the community, the medical marijuana industry, and legislators.
The regulations outline the financial, legal, and operational requirements needed by individuals to be considered for a grower-processor permit, as well as where the facilities will be located.
The regulations also address an electronic tracking system, maintenance of equipment, sanitation and safety, tax reporting, and insurance requirements, to name a few.
I'd say Pennsylvania has a very fair set of regulations. We like what we see so far.
Matt Best is a senior consultant for Medicine Man Technologies, a Colorado-based consulting company for the cannabis industry. He says potential growers, processors, and dispensaries are eyeing Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program, especially since similar programs in neighboring states have been slow to take root. And according to a study by New Frontier Data, 68% of investors are now open to businesses that touch marijuana.
I think when you see that type of economic activity that's basically within a brand new industry, I think that's exciting to investors, and it's the reason I'm not surprised to see that number increasing on a regular basis.
Van Hoeklen says he plans to follow the regulations and work with local officials to make sure his business blooms.
We're really going to be committed to this and take it seriously. We want to set the standard for what greenhouse growing of medical marijuana should look like.
As the Department of Health continues to work on the implementation of the medical marijuana program, officials are collecting information from Pennsylvania residents who may be eligible patients, and you can take a confidential survey to share your thoughts. For the I-Team, Kelly Choate, Eyewitness News.
And we have a link to that survey posted on our website, pahomepage.com. That's also where you can find more details about Pennsylvania's pot plan, as well as extended interviews from this story.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt Show, a marijuana discussion about news, culture, and entertainment. TheFullMelt.com. It's your backyard. It's celebrity interviews, talks with politicos. Plus, your calls are on the air. Download the Full Melt app, free at the Apple and Android app stores. With your host, Steve Green, the Full Melt Show.
Isn't it a bit much? Isn't it just a little bit much? It seems like a big fanfare for somebody who can't sing a note on the planet. I'll give you a quick example. Here it comes.
Funny in the lab, it can do with a dab. You want to take a stab at it, bring what you have. You think it's all right till you tune in tonight. I'll leave you on the floor with the Full Melt Show, Full Melt Show, Full Melt Show, Full Melt Show.
I told you. Warning.
Funny in the lab, it can do with a dab. You want to take a stab at it, bring what you have. You think it's all right till you tune in tonight. I'll leave you on the floor with the Full Melt Show, Full Melt Show.
I tried to tell everybody. I got to get rid of that intro. It's starting to grow on me, though. Wendy, are you there? Are you here tonight? The money for what? I think I owe somebody for that, if nothing else. Terrible. Welcome to the program, Senator Mike Folmer from Pennsylvania. Yay!
Hello.
We're glad to have you on the program tonight. We've been wondering how the program has been growing there in the great Commonwealth.
Well, we're working very closely with the governor's office, the health department, and making sure that we get the regulations done in a timely fashion, but in the correct fashion so that we don't have to worry about any of lawsuits and such that would delay our program so that we can get medicine safely in the hands of people.
Well, that's an important goal, isn't it? I mean, you told us about that the last time you were on the air, last couple of times you were on the air, in fact, about the story which led you here, which is rather interesting.
Well, it's been a long journey and one in which totally re-educated me. I always held to I guess you could call it reefer madness view of cannabis, and it has been maligned for such a long time. This plant brings a wonderful opportunity, folks. And what we're trying to do in Pennsylvania is to get it done so we can have medicine in the hands of folks.
Did it take a while there for the people of Pennsylvania to get it across to the legislators? What was going on? You were part of that process. Weren't you coming along, being educated about this subject?
Well, yeah, when it first started out, I wasn't quite sure. I come from a very conservative district. And when these two mothers came to see me, that their children were suffering from epilepsy, of course, they left me a litany of information, and I ended up studying it at a very long time, and I found out that, oh my goodness, this plant has a ton of medicinal value to it, and the whole hemp family actually has such a diverse aspect to it that it would be a big boost for any state's economy and our nation's, I'll be honest with you.
But really it wasn't the boost in the economy you were looking at there. It was really eyeing up the children that were brought to the forefront through the program Weed with Sanjay Gupta.
Was this, Steve? I mean, here we have a non-toxic organic plant that would give a patient no real bad side effects as far as it's not going to affect your liver if you use it for a long time. It's not going to affect your pancreas. It absorbs into your body very nicely as if it was made for it. And it'd be, as I was told by several doctors, the safest medication we could be allowing people to have. And here we had patients not being able to have access to it, and actually being felt like they're criminals just because they're fighting for their life. So yeah, it was about the people and those sick folks that to give them an opportunity to have a safe medication.
And the story came to you from a couple of ladies talking about their kids. Yes, is that how it kind of unfolded?
Yeah, actually, what happened was one of the first moms, Dana Ulrich. I'm allowed to use her name now. I got her okay. Dana came to see me originally because she lived in my district, and she asked me if I would sign on to then Senator Dalen Leach's medical cannabis bill. I think it was Senate Bill 750. Senator Leach comes from the Democrat side of the aisle, and in Pennsylvania, the Republicans in the Senate had the majority. I knew that his bill wouldn't be able to see the day of light, that there was no way our leadership was going to run a Democrat bill, especially of the nature of medical cannabis.
Right.
So I got the information, and once I read it, I decided to jump on board. I called Senator Leach up and asked if he would like to be a co-prime since he started the fight, and we worked on it together, and lo and behold, we had Senate Bill 3 become law back on April 17th of 2016.
248-278-8067 if you'd like to join the program tonight. We're talking to Pennsylvania Senator, oh, good Lord, what am I doing here? I've got buttons in front of me. We're talking to Pennsylvania Senator Mike Folmer about marijuana in conservative states going as medical. Now, there's no intent upon the legislature whatsoever in the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to do anything recreational. Am I correct about this?
Right. Right now, I don't think there's an appetite for it in the state of PA, although I will tell you that I think there's some early polling that it's probably about it's probably a little over 50% of folks that probably wouldn't care if it would happen. and such.
So you're right at the tipping point about popular
what
opinion.
What I really would like, though, Steve, to be honest with you, is that right now there's patients that are waiting for our program to get set up, and we're working at the best speed that we can. I am so impressed with the collaboration that we've been having with the governor's office and the Department of Health and the other caucuses and the General Assembly as we're moving forward with these regulations, and they're coming along very nicely. But there's it's just because of the nature of the beast, it's going to take some time. We have safe harbors for our children under 18 that the parents can feel safe about. If they legally get access to a product, no one's going to bother them. But we have plenty of adults who suffer from epilepsy, adults who suffer from multiple sclerosis, cancers, and so forth, PTSD, and they can't have safe access to this right now unless they technically break the law. So what I would like to see is at least some type of truce of some sort. I don't really want to open the bill again because I'm afraid of some bad stuff that could happen anytime you open up a bill, some amendments or whatever by those who oppose it. But I would like to see some type of scenario where patients who and it's not about they're not trying to get marijuana to get high. They're looking for cannabis in various forms to help them deal with the illness that they have, and they have to do it in an underground, sneaky way. And that's just, to me, an unjust scenario.
So it's kind of like the Shark Tank. You ever watch the Shark Tank, Senator?
You know what? No, I didn't.
You ever watch the Shark Tank? It's kind of, so there's a group of investors, and people come in with their business ideas, and they pitch the group of investors, and they either get a deal from one of the sharks to invest into their company or not. It's kind of a really cool program. But
cool. Check it out.
Sometimes the reason I brought it up is sometimes when you step into the Shark Tank to make your pitch, if you start to go outside, you can step out of the Shark Tank and consider options that, maybe offers that have been made to you. But when you do that and step back into the Shark Tank, things can get ugly. Is that what kind of what you're talking about with the stepping out of this, reopening the bill?
Right. By opening up the bill to change the law somewhat, right now, I think you could be taking a risk. And we fought really hard to have no THC cap. We fought really hard to have the eventuality of having whole plant to be used in the whole extraction process and various use. We fought very hard for vaporization and so forth. And I wouldn't want any of those things cut back because of unnecessary fears. There's where my concerns. But the same token, though, we do have plenty of adult patients who especially veterans who are suffering from PTSD that are just looking for a healthy, and believe me, this is a healthy alternative to some of the medications that they're able to take that are FDA approved that have so many horrible side effects that our suicide rate amongst our veterans is ungodly high. So this is unjust what's happening right now. People ask all the time, well, should I just do it? Underground, should I break the law? And I will let you know this, Steve. I believe that citizens have a moral obligation to uphold and obey just laws. But conversely, I also believe that we have a moral obligation to fight and protest against unjust laws.
Well, and that's I think, really what popular opinion has come down to. Is this a just law, the prohibition of cannabis on its face? And many people in the medical community, I think, would argue that based on its medical, perceived efficacy, at least, that it should be that way, that it should be available, at least as a medicine, that it shouldn't be prohibited, that it shouldn't be a Schedule I substance, that it shouldn't be deemed as unsafe under a doctor's supervision. Show me one medical marijuana death anywhere in the world. One.
Well, you can't find it, and that's the deal. I mean, sir, Steve, people can go, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old can go to a drugstore and buy a bottle of Tylenol. If they would happen to pop that lid off and swallow half the bottle, I guarantee if you ever witness somebody who OD'd on Tylenol in an ER scenario, it's an ugly scenario.
It's
cannabis,
a
that could never happen.
Kidneys will fail on you.
Here we have this safe medicine that we want to give to people under a doctor's supervision, and they got to sneak around and break the law in doing so. To me, that's unjust.
Real quick, we're about ready to go to break. I didn't want to leave an opportunity for our guest host, Wendy. Are you there, Wendy? Interesting thought. Senator?
I didn't hear Wendy.
Oh, you were not able to hear Wendy?
No, I didn't hear Wendy.
Oh no,
I was in the big vacuum, man. I guess I don't know.
That's not good. So she's saying, repeat it back to me. I'll feed it back to him a little bit real quick, Wendy. Go ahead and
Can't hear her.
Yeah, that's okay. So she's saying there's a Supreme Court case that says that no one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce them.
That's right. I mean, I think that happened to Robert Randall, the first person who was. That's how the government came up with that investigative new drug program.
Wendy, I'm going to ask you to during the break, because it's going to start right now. I'm going to ask you to go ahead, if you can call the studio line, because if he can't hear you, then it's no good with the interview. But we're going to do a break here, and also before we do go to break, is this Jamie Lowell?
It is.
Hey, Jamie, welcome to the program. I'm terrific. Jamie is part of the board of MI Legalize. Am I saying that right, Jamie? Are you still part of the board there?
I certainly am.
And so they're trying to currently legalize cannabis in Michigan. Jamie, your comment quickly for the senator before we go to break, and then we can come back and follow up.
Okay, well, first of all, it's really refreshing to hear about how you took an open mind and did some research and internalized a different perspective than had been around for decades and past in generations. And it's difficult for a lot of people to do that, and I just appreciate that you did that, and it led to some help. It's going to lead to real help for people, and that's very cool. After the break, though, I'm kind of interested if the discussion of people being able to grow in their own homes came up, and if so, what types of things were discussed.
It's a great setup. Senator, can you hold on to the thought for a second, because
I will be here as long as you need me.
We do have a break time coming up here. Let me just double check on the time, because I think it's like rolling right now. I actually, you know what I did? I stopped the timeline a little bit because I wanted to get our guest calls in, so I restarted it. We are going to go to break. During the break, I wanted to remind people that our Facebook Live feed only goes a half an hour. So at the half-hour mark, we're going to restart the feed. It should be during the 7:30 break. So we'll be right back. We're talking with State Senator Mike Folmer from Pennsylvania, the co-sponsor of the medical marijuana legislation in the Commonwealth there. We'll be right back with more important stuff after these messages. Stick with us and support our sponsors. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really all kinds of pets. Hemp oil drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet, with superior taste, smell, and nutrition. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of hemp oil drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell, hemp health for pets.
If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
Yes, sir. We are just here to get you qualified, okay, for the lower interest rates.
This is a Visa card.
Okay, it's a Visa card, starts with 4, right?
So why do you need the numbers off the card?
I was going to let you know, what is your new interest rate going to be and what you qualified for, okay?
Well, wouldn't it be a security risk if I was to give my card number over the phone?
Sure, we are the ones who send you the billing statements every month.
Aren't you really just a liar? Aren't you just lying about this? Aren't you just trying to steal my credit card number? Oh, you are? You little piece of shit? You're a little fucking liar, aren't you? You're a little foreign piece of shit, aren't you? You're a little foreign fucking puke, aren't you?
That's what you are. You fucking piece of shit.
Oh no! You get to suck my fucking. You get to suck my fucking American dick, you foreign piece of fucking shit. There you go. That's how you do that.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at rudoylaw.com.
Rudoylaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at rudoylaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
Wish your skin could bounce back like it used to? Neutrogena Hydro Boost Water Gel instantly quenches skin to keep it supple and hydrated day after day. With hydrating hyaluronic acid, which retains up to 1,000 times its weight in water. This refreshing water gel plumps skin cells with intense hydration and locks it in. For supple, hydrated skin that bounces back. Hydro Boost from Neutrogena. See what's possible.
And now, a Planet Green Trees flashback.
That is the paradox. You can't make the civil employees rebut the presumption, right? The state just gave $8.5 million to this administrative agency to implement. I mean, the concept there is a little upset.
The police still seem to be involved in it.
Nothing takes incentives away from police. In fact, it gives them more fish to shoot in the barrel.
Right.
The police are literally the regulatory agency for the entire program.
And why is that?
They needed their cut.
They're the only ones knowledgeable and responsible enough to handle it. This major public health and safety issue.
Don't miss the Planet Green Trees show. Thursdays at 8 Eastern on Spreaker. It's the Full Melt radio show. I've managed to completely screw it up. The phones. During the break. I do have Jamie here. Jamie, are you on the phone?
I'm here.
Senator Folmer still on the phone, yes?
I'm here.
Let me lock down Jamie so I don't lose him, and I think we're getting Wendy back right now.
I love your commercials.
Oh, thanks. Wendy, are you there?
Hey.
Yeah, you're there. Okay, now you can hear Wendy now, yes?
Hi, Wendy.
Hi.
There we
I
go.
hear her now.
There, that's a good thing. We had her Skyped in, and it's all this technology. Sometimes it doesn't like to marry up.
There you go.
So we were talking about Jamie. You kind of lit up a question, and I think Wendy had one as well. Who should we start with?
Start with Jamie.
Jamie, you were asking about how
if the issue of home grows came up, and then what the discussion was like, if so.
Well, that's a great question, Jamie, because my original bill that I wrote was Senate Bill 1192, and that we introduced in the beginning of 2014. The end of that, the second year of that, we have 2-year sessions, so it was the second year of the session. Actually, was a very simple plan and bill. It was only about 7-8 pages long. We had no conditions. We left it between the medical professionals and the patients to decide what they wanted to use cannabis for. And we did have the ability of folks to, I think, grow up to 15 plants. But we couldn't get that to fly over the cuckoo's nest because they just went ballistic when they saw the bill. They thought it was too, as they say back here in Pennsylvania, Dutch country, too loosey-goosey.
A little too much opportunity for foul play, so to speak, as long as you're using chicken language.
Well, no, I think what it was is just the fear of this 70-year misinformation propaganda program that has come down and shaded this poor plant that's got caught up and been given a moral attribute, and all it is a plant.
Well, and I think that's the big argument, right, Jamie? I mean, Wendy, isn't that what everybody says? Nobody should go to jail for a plant.
Of course not.
It's understandable how that was a tough one to get past under that environment that's being described. That is, but there's a lot of positives to it. I hope that it is successful in the future with amendments as things ease up and people get used to this and more of the truth kind of comes out.
Well, I'm just hoping for the sake of patients who would make it more economical for them to have a safe medication.
Exactly. They'll have it sooner. They'll have exactly what works for them.
Exactly.
A lot of
and
to it.
I agree.
Where are we going next? Where are you at now in this process? Are you guys still making the rules? It seems I've seen some.
We have the temporary regulations done. We have a couple little things we need to iron out. We're moving along very well as fast as that we can. We want to make sure we can't rewrite the law through regulations, or else we'll end up in the court system, and then that will even further delay. So we're trying to do this correctly. There's great collaboration between the Senate Republicans and the House Democrats, and the Senate Democrats and the House Republicans are all working together. Believe it or not, imagine that. and we're all on the same page with the governor's office and the Department of Health, and we just are trying to do our best to get this program up and running as soon as we can. Now, in the meantime, we do have some problems, and the problems are this: is that, as I alluded to earlier in the last week before the break, was that we have a bunch of adult patients who are not able to have safe harbor letters that need medicine now, and a lot of them are doing it under the table and are fearful of legal ramifications.
Well, has there been some instruction by the legislature about this safe harbor period? You're saying that there is no safe harbor, or there is a safe. I'm a little confused.
We have a safe harbor for children of 18 years or younger.
Okay.
But if you are an adult patient, let's say you're 19 years old and you're suffering from epilepsy, you can't get a safe harbor letter.
And this is just because this is the line that the legislature drew?
That was the line the House put in when they totally rewrote my bill. Senate Bill 3 is not my bill. I mean, I was the prime sponsor of it and as such, and it went over there, but I never had any real discussion. They kind of cut me out of the program. They thought I was just trying to go for full legalization, and all I was just trying to do is listen to what Thomas Jefferson said, and this is what Jefferson said. He said, "The people that allow their government to dictate what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their souls are in the same sorry state as those souls that live under tyranny."
Wow. That's a great quote.
And I was just trying to say, hey, Republicans, I thought we were for less government. I thought we were for more individual rights. And they were so afraid of this plant. But yet we were going to have booze on every grocery store shelf in Pennsylvania.
Well, and are there still dry districts in Pennsylvania? Are there dry?
Yeah, there's still some dry. Pennsylvania had a strange. We had a governor back when they lifted prohibition, Governor Pinchot, who was totally against alcohol, and he tried to make sure alcohol was back in the 1930s. He tried to make sure that alcohol was going to be the hardest thing to get a hold of in Pennsylvania. And now we're slowly but surely breaking out of that mold. But here's my point, and I don't think government should be involved there either. But here's my point. Folks who were totally against my medical cannabis bill over in the House of Representatives they were so afraid of this bill, but they wanted booze on every grocery store shelf and on every neighborhood in Pennsylvania, and alcohol is 144 times more deadly than marijuana. I mean, to me, it was just hypocrisy.
It is hypocrisy. And I think that's what's so maddening about people who stand up and fight for this position, because it looks like you're arguing from the outside in, and you're really arguing from the inside out.
Well, here's the other thing, Steve. Now, think about this, and for your listeners. The United States, and I don't know about Michigan, I'm sure you folks have it too, we have a huge opiate addiction problem.
Yes.
a.k.a. heroin, and then, of course, your opiate prescription drug scenarios, and overdoses.
Right.
Now, that wasn't caused by marijuana.
Right.
That was caused by Oxycontin, Percocet, and Vicodin.
Yes.
And here we are in the United States. We make up about 4% of the world's population, but we use over 80% of the prescribed opiates. We should not be surprised we have this problem. But here's the beautiful thing about cannabis. In every state that uses cannabis to as an medicine, here's what it is. Their prescription drug overdoses go down by 25%.
That's true.
In the first year, and exceeds that in the upcoming year. So this actually will help with that addiction problem.
All right, hang on, Senator Folmer. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really, all kinds of pets. Hemp oil drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet, with superior taste, smell, and nutrition. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of hemp oil drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell, hemp health for pets.
Attention. Get ready to write down a very important number.
Michael does not know how to fail. Second place is loser.
If you have a medical marijuana case and need legal representation, call the best, Attorney Michael Comorn.
He's very passionate in the courtroom.
Getting the best outcome requires quick legal action, and it needs to start with one call, toll-free to Attorney Michael Comorn. 800-656-3557. Write it down, 800-656-3557.
Michael Comorn gave us our life back.
Attorney Michael Comorn. Vigorous criminal defense.
Play-Doh compound can help kids practice communication skills. Start by presenting the visual of the letter or word. Then ask them to mold the Play-Doh compound into the shape of the letters. It's an effective way to foster speech and even writing.
Ram trucks are reaching new heights when it comes to capability and efficiency. The Ram Heavy Duty is the most capable full-size pickup on the road today. And the Ram 1500 is the most fuel-efficient full-size pickup ever. So what does that mean? It means Ram trucks are built for the long haul. Ram, America's longest-lasting pickups.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call, speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Today,
talking to Senator Mike Folmer, who's on the phone with us from Pennsylvania. Mike is the co-sponsor of what became the medical marijuana law in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Also with us on the phone, let me lock them in, Jamie Lowell. Oops, Jamie's gone. All right, let's see. We got Wendy. Wendy, are you there? Oh.
I'm here.
Wendy's there. That's a good thing. All right. So sorry about the music. I know sometimes it is a little bit weird on the phone. We'll let it fade out. If I'm a guy who is from another state, because I am, and I'm interested in perhaps Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program, not so much necessarily because I'm concerned about, making money there, but more concerned about bringing my knowledge, my wealth of knowledge from another state who's done medical marijuana to the state of Pennsylvania. Am I going to have an easy pathway in, Senator Folmer?
Well, I mean, we're looking for, you're not going to have a hard process. I mean, let's put it that way. I mean, there's going to be a level scoring as they are viewing the applications. And it looks like we're going to have a ton of applications for the permits that are going to be going out. So it's going to be very competitive. Of course, we're looking for home grow. We're looking, we're trying to give Pennsylvanians an opportunity. And I think what's happening now is that there's teams from outside the state that are teaming up with teams inside the state so that we do have that expertise. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But still have a homegrown taste.
Are there many places in the law in Pennsylvania where it allows for outsiders to come in, or have you guys done like what some of these other states have done when they originally set up the program and said, no, we want to keep this homegrown, we want to keep this, if you'll pardon the expression?
No, we didn't do that, but there will be certain scoring advantages if you are from PA. So, like I said, there are teams that are hooking up, that have started up. I mean, that have started in PA, and they're hooking up with other successful teams that have been in other states, and it's going to be, it's like a marriage. So it's like a real collaboration, and I think it's bringing some really good quality teams together. I think we're going to have a really good program going on here in PA. I think we're going to set the cutting edge, especially with our research aspect that we have in Chapter 20 of our bill.
Are there going to be cards in Pennsylvania? Do registrants get a card from the state?
Yeah, you'll get a card.
Okay.
You'll get a card.
Will it have your photo on it? I'm interested.
That's a good question. It may have your phone. I'm not sure. I should know that answer. But you're definitely getting a card.
It was weird when Michigan did their program because we were looking at the time, the only other state that had a medical marijuana program in place was California. And, we've seen people with their California medical marijuana cards with their picture right on there. And the law that we crafted here, from a citizens initiative perspective, took into account the idea that there should be a photograph on that card. In fact, there were samples.
I think we have that. I didn't want to misspeak.
No, I'm just saying that there's a weird thing about it here because for whatever reason, the state decided that despite the fact that they were making a lot of money on the application process, they were bobbling the whole idea about whether or not they wanted to include a photo on the ID. And eventually, they never did. So there's a space for a photo, but there's no photo on these ID cards.
They took the cheap way out, huh?
They did. It's weird because the state has dragged their feet every step of the way since this initiative was passed. And one of those ways was to belabor or delay or inhibit the process of registering patients. And part of that process was to confuse people, to delay people on both getting a, it took many people almost a full year to get their card back, and then they'd have to start the program over again, start the application process over again. So there was only a little tiny window where they had the card that was going to protect them because they weren't accepting the paperwork. It's just a strange thing.
Did you have an unfriendly governor at the time?
Actually, when the law was enacted, we didn't have an unfriendly governor. I think we had an unsure governor who was on her way out. That was Jennifer Granholm at the time. And then Mike Cox, who's a Republican, was our attorney general. Of course, Jennifer Granholm was a Democrat. And, so he actually started to take some position on this a little bit. But he was also, I think, running for re-election soon and was taking safe positions. Then, at the same time we enacted this law, we elected Bill Schuette, who's our attorney general here in the state, who is the principal opponent to the law. So it's a rather strange dichotomy that the same year we passed the medical marijuana law, we also hired its chief opponent as our attorney general for the state. So it was a terrible collision.
Maybe he was a former Court of Appeals judge that actively campaigned against marijuana.
Right.
That's his pet project, is to bring down cannabis in this state, and he's our attorney general. He's no friend.
That's a shame. I mean, and why is that?
Well, we'd like to know. We'd like to know if Bill Schuette would call the program and tell us.
You're not going to meet a more conservative person than me. And I just don't get this fear. I don't get it. But no, I do get it. And
it's not always fair.
Excuse me?
It's not always fair. Sometimes there's political costs and gain to be made in this. It's like ignorance and fear and political money and reputation.
Well, you just got to follow the money, and what you'll see is these continued delaying actions in allowing this plant and stop. Folks, here's what we got to do. We got to stop viewing this plant. We got to stop giving this plant a moral attribute.
Right.
We got to stop doing that, and because this plant is neither a demon nor is it an angel.
Right.
It's a plant. Yes. And it's what we do with the plant, and it's what the individual. So to bring this under proper stewardship, which I think medical cannabis surely does, and even to a lesser extent, adult use, because you would have better regulation and it would be safe product and so forth. But the bottom line is we got to stop demonizing this, and it's so ridiculous because it's not the plant's fault.
So here's the thing: if we cut to the chase on the demonization, the demonization, in my view, after doing years and years of research and talking to so many people about this subject, it's my point of view that the demonization was placed there on purpose. Because
special interest, dude.
Right.
Hey, let's be honest. The DuPonts, the Hearst, the Rockefellers, back in the day, they didn't want this cheap fiber. They didn't want the DuPonts didn't want the competition with their nylon. The cotton growers didn't want the competition for the fiber.
Right.
The paper competition, and then of course wood and cement and so forth.
This was about commerce. This was about the moving of dollars
on purpose.
Right. Yes. This was all about money. And
it was all about special interests, and the special interests won the day. And this is the problem with America today.
Yes.
We have sacrificed principles on the altar of self-interest, and it's been hurting. This actually hurts patients. If we would have never done what we did 70 years ago and outlawed this poor plant, how many children would have been helped with the research? How much farther ahead would we be ahead on research in both cancer treatments, in epilepsy treatments, multiple sclerosis treatments, Crohn's disease, you name it? How much farther? That is the sin right there.
That is, and here's the other big sin. We've placed the burden of prohibition on the backs of the most vulnerable in our society.
Yeah, imagine, Steve. Here's my point. Imagine being a parent. You're a parent of a special needs child. Your child is suffering between 300, 400, 500 seizures a day. All right? Now you have all that pressure, and then the medications aren't working the way they're supposed to be, and the side effects, and their long-term, short-term memories are going to nothing. And now you find out that, hey, here's a plant that might help. And then you find a strain that actually does really well, and you had to buy it under the table. Now besides the pressure of dealing with a special needs child and what that does to a family, now you have the addition. The mother saying, oh, my goodness, if I get caught, will children and youth take my child away from me? And all I was trying to do was give a better quality of life to my child. That's a sin.
Well, and it's going on here in the state of Michigan where the CPS, Child Protective Services, has made it a mantra to go after parents with children if they're medical marijuana patients. Not the children, but the parents. So they still are acting under the idea that somehow you're a risk or a threat to your child because you're a medical marijuana patient and you're using drugs.
But those same people, it's okay to laugh at Johnny because, hey, we gave him a half a Percocet. Look how goofy he's acting.
Yes.
I mean, that is so stupid.
Yes. The idea that a child could break a bone and they could go to the hospital and get an injection of something that if they got too much of it, just for pain, it would kill them. And so, my grandson, my oldest grandson's best friend's brother, who was a lacrosse athlete at a local college, and he suffered a severe knee injury and got addicted to opiate pain prescriptions, and then became a heroin addict, and he recently committed suicide. Yeah. Well, I just lost...
So tell me the justice in that.
I just lost a nephew who had a similar foray into opiates, or opioids, as the case may be. Became addicted to pain medication after a dental visit, and then couldn't break the addiction of the medication. Resorted to getting them from friends and family and wherever else they could get them on the street for however much they were selling for. And then the next thing you know, when he can't afford that anymore, is doing the heroin. And I just was a pallbearer at his funeral. This is my nephew. I'm sorry, my cousin.
I'm so sorry. And it shouldn't have had to been. And that's the sin of this whole thing. This is just so wrong. If I'm not causing any harm to you, Steve, if I'm not causing any harm to my neighbor,
right,
and so forth, no government should be in between me and my doctor on any medication I want to use.
How about the judges? In many cases in the state, the judges were inserting themselves in between the patient and doctor relationship and saying, no, you don't get to use your medical marijuana while you're on trial for whether or not you're allowed to have medical marijuana.
That is as unjust as putting Martin Luther King in the prison fighting for civil liberties.
Yes, it is. It's always been
exactly the same unjust. That's why we need to fight against it, and that's why people are self-medicating illegally right now in Pennsylvania, because this is so wrong. I'm sorry. I start stuttering. I get really upset. I can't believe how bad this is.
Speechless.
I get excited too, Senator, and that's why I love having you on the show. So, listen, let's not leave out of the mix and be truthful and honest about this. If we're to pull back the curtain, one of the largest special interest groups that you speak of that has been hooked on the teat of prohibition for some time now, and it's been ramped up by governors and presidents down the line from both parties as a bi-parties issue, I guess both parties, that the police and prosecutors and townships and court systems are profiting off of this system. And it scares them to death if you take the big giant teat out of their mouth that the government has been letting them suckle on for so long, because when it comes down to it, people don't like how much it costs for law enforcement people and to properly equip and train and staff those people, that group of our society that enforces our laws. And because of that, and they don't like to raise taxes, they like to hide it by burdening a particular group of the population through prohibition, because that's where that money comes from.
Well, you're talking about civil asset forfeiture.
Well, it's part of it. That's part of the ugly deception.
Yes, and feeding the criminal justice system and the private prison system, and the judges still have work, and all the attorneys have work.
When I followed the money on the original, when I saw all these groups popping their ugly heads up, Parents Against Drugs, Parents for a Safe Pennsylvania, Moral Pennsylvania,
right.
And you start following the money, you saw large pharma through, but you really had to dig. You really had to dig, because it was through various PACs and so forth. But you saw large pharma, you saw police unions, and you saw and you saw for-profit prisons.
Yep, that's who's behind it. Drug companies, tobacco and alcohol are big opponents. There was just a recent story saying alcohol consumption considerably down in states where marijuana is either recreational or medically used.
Do you think Coors for a second likes that?
Colorado.
For a second. The thing about this, last year I think it was, or the year before, in states that have been using cannabis for medicine, now this is combined, not just one state, but combined, but it's still a significant number. The drop in Medicaid prescriptions went down. Yep, you're right. Went down like $431 million.
It's amazing.
It's $165 million, and if they implemented across the U.S., it would be about $400 million annually. They said.
There you go. There you go. Got my figures right. Thank you very much, Wendy.
All right, guys, hang on 1 second. We got one segment left of the program. It goes so fast. We're talking with Pennsylvania Senator Mike Folmer, the co-sponsor of what is now the medical marijuana law in Pennsylvania, still with the rules being crafted, the temporary rules in place. I'd like to follow up with what he's looking forward to, what he'd like to see, what he's expecting. Are those the same or are those different? We'll ask him that question next. Your phone calls as well. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
And now, a Planet Green Trees flashback.
When do medibles have to be tested too? Is that also part of the caregiver?
No, that's only for the.
Will they have to be tested?
It's only for the dispensaries.
But there is a new restriction with respect to medibles in that patients can only make them for themselves.
Right.
And they've created new crimes for transfers outside of the caregiver.
They're very specific. But it's not.
That's what we just talked about.
It's no more harsh than the manufacturer.
No. They can be transferred. The medibles can be transferred from the registered caregiver to the registered patient, but not beyond. And that's how they would expect you to interpret the law.
Don't miss the Planet Green Trees Show, Thursdays at 8 Eastern on Spreaker. Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The No-Smell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a No-Smell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about No-Smell technology at NoSmell.com.
Don't stop chasing, wander while the day brings up. Here comes the sunrise and we'll see the sunset. Coasting by the ocean with some music, turn it up. We got the whole night, 360 days of this. things will make here. Always make you smile.
Happiness is calling at sandiego.org.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
My moderate to severe chronic plaque psoriasis made a simple trip to the grocery store anything but simple. So I had an important conversation with my dermatologist about Humira. He explained that Humira works inside my body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to my symptoms. In clinical trials, most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Ask about Humira, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Clear skin is possible.
It's the Full Melt radio show. Ah, yes. That's what it is. 248-278-8067 if you want to chime in and you got a question for Senator Mike Folmer, who's been our guest all hour. And I thank you, Senator, for coming on and kind of updating us. I have to ask you before we go, though, do you expect that this program will play out the way that you intended? Are your expectations high or low based on what your target was?
I think if the feds would leave us alone, I think we'll be fine.
Are you worried about Jeff Sessions here?
Well, I heard stuff that he said in video clips, and it's like, dude, what are you smoking? Because I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Are we on the same convergence federally and with the state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? Are we on the same convergence there that we were in Michigan by passing a medical marijuana program and then hiring somebody that's opponent to it?
Well, I mean, we could be, and I was hearing that, and I was hearing Trump was like neutral in the whole thing. I mean, that he thought it was a states' rights issue, and in a sense, I think he's right. The feds just got to get out of our way. Like, for instance, if they could make it from a Schedule I down, that banks would be able to start taking some of these people's monies. That would make the program a lot safer. I'll tell you that right now. But, I mean, to have a guy like Jeff Sessions who's under this misguided belief that he actually said that we actually got our drug addiction problems under control, and now we're heading in the wrong direction. I mean, I don't know where he's coming from. I mean, I can tell you right now, when I first did my bill back in 2014, I saw 5 high school kids eating pizza at the local pizza shop, and I was with my wife. I said, I got to talk to these guys, and she said, please don't talk about marijuana, but I had to. And I asked him, I said, was it easier for you to get? A bottle of Jack Daniels here in the state of Pennsylvania, or I said nickel bag, and they had no clue what I was talking about. They said, a dime bag. I said, okay, inflation. Anyway.
You should have said a lid. I want a lid.
A lid, whatever. Yeah, let's get lid. The bottom line is, the one young person, not a child, he was junior in high school, said if you got the cash, they got the stash, meaning that it was far easier for them to get access to underground marijuana than it was for a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Absolutely.
So any elected official that comes out and thinks that this war on drugs has been successful, well, then they are just lying, because it has not been. We spent trillions of dollars since 1972, and heroin is as prevalent as ever. We have a huge opiate addiction problem, and it's not because of marijuana. If anything, marijuana would help bring that down.
It's the drug war is the biggest farce and failure of American policy, I think, since our country's inception.
As a fiscal conservative, I am horrified by the amount of money that we threw down. We might as well just took that money and lit it up. Meanwhile, we have bridges falling down, highways falling apart, underground infrastructure is a joke, and we're spending trillions to put people in prison thinking that we can arrest our way out of this scenario, and that's a joke.
Mike Folmer for president, that's what I say.
Oh, but that'd be a scary thought.
Look, you're one of the few Republicans that I look. I'm a staunch Democrat. I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I will just tell you. But when I can marry up with a Republican, when I can marry up with a Republican, a guy across the aisle, with an ideal that we both wholeheartedly, full-throatedly agree upon, it makes me joyous, Senator.
Well, look, you got to look at the truth, and I'm just trying to find the truth to the best of my ability. And as I was doing my research on medical cannabis, I didn't want to just see what I wanted to see. I wanted to make sure that my information was correct because I was educating my fellow colleagues, and that's why we were able to pass it out of the Senate 43-7, and such. Because I made sure the facts were right. And once you find the truth, and then you look at the war on drugs, and history's on my side, this is a total joke. We're not dealing with addiction problems. We're not dealing with what we need to be dealing with. In the meantime, we have all these other problems, and now we're going to, with the Jeff Sessions, have a possibility of loading up our prisons more with unfortunate folks. It's a joke. And it's not even fair and equal. Here's my point. May I close with this?
Certainly.
Do you have a second?
Yeah.
Here's what has been going on. In the state of Pennsylvania, I've been fighting for civil asset forfeiture. But this just shows you the inequality of what's going on. In the city of Philadelphia, Andy Reid, who used to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, is now the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. His son was caught selling cocaine. The assistant DA from Philadelphia in the Philadelphia Inquirer said that the Reed's home looked like a drug emporium. Meanwhile, that same year, a Hispanic retired couple who worked in the local school district, one was a custodian, the other one worked in the cafeteria, had a very modest row home in North Philly. Their son was caught selling 2 ounces of marijuana on their porch step, and they seized their home. They didn't touch Andy Reid's home, but they seized their home. You know why? Because they're good. Because they could. Because Andy Reid had an army of attorneys that allowed him that justice. This war on drugs is just so unfair. It's not what our founders intended. Our founders intended Lady Justice to be blindfolded. She didn't want to know what color your skin was. She didn't want to know if you were rich or poor. All she wanted to do was hear the merits of the case. And sometimes you're innocent and sometimes you're guilty. But that's not happening today.
No, it's not.
And this war that we're having right now on drugs is an example of that, and this prohibition of cannabis is an exact example of that.
I think the war on drugs has contributed significantly, and I'm talking above the 50 percentile, into the negative perception that people have of the police force. Any negative perception that they have of them has been earned by their just terrible backing of such horrible policy.
Well, it's like we learned nothing from Prohibition back in the 20s.
We didn't.
We learned nothing.
We learned that Al Capone's vault is empty. That's what we learned.
Right. But we learned nothing. And what happens with any type of, look, you show me one prohibition bill that helps with temperance, and I will give you, I'll give you everything I have. Because you won't find one prohibition bill that actually helps with temperance, because it never does. If anything, it furthers it away and creates a huge underground market, and then that opens the door for not only an underground economy, illegal, but it also opens the door for possible corruption on the other side.
Right. And I think, honestly, the only chance we have of saving our country from ourselves is to weed out special interest corruption, because it is rotting our government. It's just literally rotting the government.
It is. And that's what happens. And now we have this great divide, and there's no communication. And again, I'm a conservative guy, and you and I probably would disagree on some other issues here. But the bottom line is, when you see the truth, you got to. But one thing I will tell you this, is I always use the Constitution as my model, and my goal is to try to follow it. And when I saw this injustice, this anti-marijuana medication prohibition is so unconstitutional, it's unbelievable.
It's difficult to believe that courts would stand up behind this, but when you've got courts This is another problem I think our country has, a blurring of the lines of the separation of powers. Anytime you've got...
There is. That's a great point, and that's been happening, and it's happening, and it's coming to fruition. But here's the other thing. You got too much influence. You got a lot of Wall Street influence, and you also got large pharma influence. Was it 2012 or was it 2014? I forget which election cycle. But in one election cycle, they spent nationally $247 million in campaign contributions.
Bear with me 1 second. It looks like we've got another caller. Hang on so we can get them on. Hello, you're on the Full Melt Show.
Hey, how you doing, Steve? This is Dave.
Dave, welcome to the program. Your comment? You got a question or comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the senator from Pennsylvania and see, what kind of activism he was trying to, go across the aisle or try to, help.
Hang on 1 second. There we go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To help promote, because I know he's a conservative, and I'm from a conservative state as well, and what kind of work he's doing to help, promote the cause.
I guess if I could rewrap the question for him, are you reaching outside of your state, Senator, to help educate others? Are you reaching out to federal legislators and saying, look, the Commonwealth has a different position now, we've got to shift?
I am, and I'm trying to, because I'm trying to use my model, because I come from I'm a conservative Christian, and it didn't seem like a bill that a conservative Christian would get involved with, but I do because God gave us His plan. But my point is, I am reaching out. I reach out to our federal legislators here in the state of Pennsylvania. I've been in contact with legislators from like Utah, which is a very conservative state, and so forth. And because they were asking me questions, how and why did I? Because I think what we did in PA was a little different. What happened is that you'd have these Democrat-controlled caucuses, and they would need a handful of Republicans to help them get over the line. Here, I need to get the majority of the Republicans before they would even think about running the bill.
Are you getting any decent feedback from the federal angle on representation in the state?
I hear, in personal, they'll say, yeah, I understand, but nothing gets pushed forward. And I guess my cynicism is that, these guys that run for Congress, they spend more time across the street from the Capitol raising money than they are doing the people's business.
It's terrible. It's that kind of, if people knew how many times John Boehner was literally, like you said, across the street, required to be on the phone, raising money to get elected again, they would see how terrible this dark money cycle is, this special interest fueling of our economy with regards to which elected representatives get the most airplay, the most name recognition, the most voter viability.
Or you don't want to give your opponent a win, regardless of how good the policy is.
Right.
We'll do that. We'll do that number two.
Party over politics.
That's what happens, and that's the nature of the beast right now. And it has been in the past, too. I mean, this is not unique in our American history. But the question is, that doesn't mean that we have to continue it. And what we need to be doing, as a libertarian/Republican that I am, who believes in limited government, I mean, we got to be able to... The most important thing is to educate. Like we did. That was the model we used on cannabis. That's the model I've been using for civil asset forfeiture, and so forth. I'm just trying to make sure all my facts are right. I reach out. I build relationships. I don't have to, just because I disagree with the guy across the aisle doesn't mean I can't respect him for his beliefs. And vice versa. So you try to build those relationships so that you can get some collaboration and some movement so that we can start doing the people's business rather than our own party's business.
Dave, so the answer is the senator is reaching out, but he's not getting great response from the federal angle on this.
No, it's just not. It's like their eyes glaze over. It's like I don't. And the thing of it is, it's really a shame because what they don't understand is that they're affecting people's lives and their quality of life. People say, hey, Folmer, you're pro-life. Yeah, I am very pro-life, but I'm also pro-life after birth.
Right. Well, and you're pro-people after birth.
Yes. So
I wanted to ask Dave. Dave, you're from Wisconsin, correct?
Correct.
First off, did the senator answer your question? Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, for the most part, I commend what he does, and I just, I'm one of those people that its lives are affected by it, and I hope that he would reach out to, not only my state but everybody else as well, and I really commend what you do,
Hey, Dave.
whether or not we. Yep.
Hey, Dave, if you could do me a favor, you go to your computer and you look up Senator from Pennsylvania, Senator Mike Folmer, and go to my website, and actually, if you want to, you could take my cell number down. If you could text me names of legislators that you think I could reach out to, I would be glad to do that for you in Wisconsin.
Is it okay if I pass along to Dave off air your cell number? Is that okay?
Yes, that'd be great.
And then that way he can text you directly that information.
Right. And Dave, just send me a text with your name that you talked to me tonight in a rig, because I get my number out to a lot of people. I just want to remember who I gave it to.
That's awesome. Thank you for offering that, and thank you for your perspective, Dave. I got to ask you. You're from a conservative state as well. Access to cannabis in your state. What's the state of affairs, so that the senator has just a general idea? Can you get medical cannabis if you need it?
Absolutely not. It's CBD only, and only for epilepsy. And the state of condition is that they determined at the end of the last session that they wouldn't vote on any of the bills that they proposed, so they're going to push it forward to the 2017 session.
Nice.
But as of yet, nobody's gotten any whether it's epilepsy or any other. It's only epilepsy now, but nobody's gotten that as well. There's no other condition.
Isn't this a form of waging medical class warfare? Isn't that what this is?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
This is so long, Dave. I'm so sorry, but like I said, I'd be glad to. I don't know any of your legislators there in your state house, and if you would point me in the direction, I'd be glad to send letters and try to make contacts.
That's an awesome thing. Thank you, Dave, for your call. Wendy, I appreciate you being on. Did you want to ask anything more of the senator before we go? Because we are way over time.
No, I just think when we talk about facts, the one thing I keep in mind is I tell people you're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And people need to know what the facts are before they make decisions.
Oh, that's well said.
Amen. That's a great point.
So, looking forward, are you're expecting to get this program up and underway?
Oh, yeah, and the governor's been great. Everybody's been working together. It's amazing how you can break down these walls by working together, and you find out, gee, those people aren't that bad after all, and and so forth. So, no, we're moving along very well. I'm very pleased. I'm very, very pleased.
A start date where people can expect that they can both participate in the program from a patient standpoint and have access to it out where you've directed them to.
Right. Well, could you repeat that? Did you ask when we'll be up and running, basically?
Yeah, basically. When can patients expect that they could participate in the program as a patient and also have access to it where you've directed them to?
I'm hoping by the latter portion of 2017.
Oops, hang on. Wendy hung up at the wrong time. I don't know why that happened. I'm sorry. Thank you. Did you say the latter part of 2018?
By the end of 2017.
All right. Thank you.
And
Senator Mike Folmer, I got to go. We've got to thank you. We'll stay on the line. I'll talk to you after the show. Hang on.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.